Didn't realize it was episode 666. Didn't realize that. Well, just snuck up at you.
Oh, I'm Marjorie. Marjorie Cameron, yeah. Ahura Baban, yeah. That's the ticket. And welcome to Sunday Go to Meeting. Let's be real. There's nothing to the number, really. That was just shit Leister used to try and look cool. He actually wouldn't even know how to navigate to the bathroom stalls.
Okay, hold on. Gotta change the speed of Marjorie. Make it from 8 to 7. Yeah, sure. Why not? Okay. Why not? Take 2.
Oh, I'm Marjorie Cameron, yeah. Ahura Baban, yeah. That's the ticket. And welcome to Sunday Go to Meeting. Let's be real. There's nothing to the number, really. That was just shit Leister used to try and look cool. He actually wouldn't even know how to navigate to the bathroom stalls of the stone wall. The eagle, he'd accidentally trip onto someone's spiked drink. Yes, we run simulations and they're hilarious and we'll drop them soon it opens. Anyway, yes, Sunday Go to Meeting where we press this button which produces a random faith, active or extinct, always real or eternally fictional, grandiose or petty as fuck. And once the faith is randomly determined, we will listen to the homily of the week from the pastoral agent of that particular faith, and we will employ discernment on its message to extract what relevance and value it has for our lives. Now, quick, way too early for the dupes of fellowship. We need the snorts of solidarity. Hurry, there will be none left. And my connect is with this girl the rest of the day. Come on, quick, press the button. You press the button, which flickers, and F ripples and Gathunk on the screen is the random faith of the week. Gnostic Hakusa Cascadia of the 18th density, an apostolic extensive amalgam of the Andromeda Stellar collective of the first anno, that particular faith with a specific planet that the week's agent had called home. On the screen there is the liturgy of the church, all in this beautiful cursive script. The agent, this woman who knew her family's secret histories, had handwritten for him. There is no record of it anywhere in the collected archives, and all the rituals, prayers, and liturgy like this. O Lord and Lordess, the Cotite was of the 11th. The words read aloud, humbly, in humble hopefulness, we thank you for the great abundance of Nar, great enough to have provided the air we breathe in this far world, that we may, with your bountiful munificence, freely share and spread throughout these once distant heavens of Andromeda the joys of love. And the words are said at random moments and in the manner of the individual members, with everyone reading out loud as they experience them. Oh yes, to say that the experience is overwhelming is to underestimate what happens. I could only laugh. There was too much to experience for one brain, which meant that everyone else on the list was in the same state, including this chief, this random faith, the homily, this Sundays, no Evis. It is by Sophia Naylor, found at this site. And she said, I've written a brief text concerning what you can expect about to experience. What is important is this, dear people, if you do not wish to spend your afterlives in unending self-annihilation or the next 3 to 7 minutes after you leave the meeting as a carbonized fragment, not knowing quite where or what your physical form had just been doing when your processor shuts itself off forever at 100% capacity, having taken up a full 15 of those next best afterlives of yours for your use. And as there's never been a drop of an inkling in the records as to what happens after this moment, if you wish to make your choice on the finality, on what your ultimate self shall choose, ere you have a chance for redemption, take 1 minute. If your name comes up as having made such a decision, if the green light blinks on foot, you go back and back into your experience. But in 1 more minute, you may determine just that 1 more moment that, like a pin's worth of water poured into the mighty oceans, can alter your world forever. I promise you, do not ignore the chance, but also don't allow any misinterpretation to be carried. This is no form of absolution. This is to help you determine on the fate you choose, that choice that will make up your past, or as many minutes you choose of the 15 you've earned, so that you can then make an informed decision about the afterlives of you, those of you who survive. You have 60 seconds remaining. This meeting has come to a conclusion. Good luck in all things, my friends. Try your hand at redemption. Sister, no one wants to leave all this behind in a flame that we didn't deserve and didn't ask for. Please, God of yours and mine, no more of this hell we don't know if it's possible to bear. All is as you'd expect, dear followers of Sophia. No need for those 15 afterlives I alluded to, as all your machines have burned up in a pillar of flame around this place, having fully lit your beings. Perhaps a dozen or two survived to cinch or near blackened humans. Even the virus-resistant microbots, of which this has been the most advanced in existence for our lifetimes, after our technology got sucked right out from the throat of the vacuum, the virus-resistant microbots that could make fire and work with fire and see it just a power source are also destroyed. Oh, this place? But do I know who you are now? No. As all of this is history, except to me it feels very current. This meeting, and there you have it again as it burns, something real and happening. The microbots and nanorobots and whatnot that control and administer and replicate you in the world just go off on their merry way. But the house, the place they lived in, and how it worked, it was made in an industrial environment and one of your cleanest. Yes, the house just goes off too. Not to forget that we're dealing here with just cleaned and dusted, pristine houses, but that's all gone. Gone. The dust, ashes, carbon. We've seen all that's here now, and now it's not like the archives, because I'll bet some of those texts, which is to say books, will always be with you. But all of these walls here, what do they look like now? Yes, smoked, boiling, as I said, a history. Of course, there have always been disasters, and those who didn't run and run faster than a near fatal collision with a boulder had run faster still in fear, because these are natural things, all things, and it is natural for anything you build and all the infrastructure to break. But this one you feel because this was not some naturally occurring force. No, it was a fire caused by this new virus we know about only through Sophia's final warning. We never did understand what she was really on about by the end. She always felt too deeply about too much. An artistic mind of rare passion and power. So much more of a prophet of our new age than even I, and certainly my friends Aleister Crowley and Freya Chadwer. The ones we've always paid homage to, whose many schools we followed to expand our own influence, a growing family. My people, and perhaps it's just our personal doom. My particular karma, if the planet be fucked by what Sophia thought, not just me, but even before. Way before we could all act. Or, for I wouldn't want it to have happened that way if there's any other way than what came, as they say, with a will. That the fire not have happened and it didn't, or that something else didn't have happened with its own necessary velocity and outcome that wouldn't be a tragedy to me either. It's not about fate or fates that there could have been or will be any other possible future, and I should take responsibility for none of that at any moment. None but I do want the history of that which occurred in a time we now find ourselves in that we were still in. But perhaps you feel the same. The question is who is right. Or perhaps more important for us, did any of it matter? We now find ourselves here, that being us as people, here with me, the ones who had the lives, those of us here at this moment with our names that got picked randomly, or which came to the table by one means or another. So you did have a chance to say what was your self-determination in this situation you found yourself in. So the question becomes what happened after. To those who lived to that final minute of the last afterlife as ashes in a fire. And we remember those that remain now by a fragment or less. We who lived in this last history that is here. As what remains of you are to us as is. Was, it's now just ash, and no further back than the previous moment, and your choices you made, who you are. It's too late to change the world, but maybe, yes, a better future now in your last chance if you pick that up and try again, knowing your last moment has come, but time's a funny thing in the time we're still in. Had her on the back. They're there. And she laughed. This time, it's as you were at an instinct that I speak to the machine you knew as the house, and it replies in an unexpectedly human manner. It's an archaic question from my predecessor that, for some reason, I still retain this old question which I had once thought in an epigrammatic and aphoristic form, but now I understand as having come from Sophia. What will we do with our days? My brothers and sisters, having had them all burned up? What is there to do but build with just a little something, one tiny fragment of something new in what has come to be of the rubble? So you know about the ash and dust from that previous story about how it came to be in the house you may have experienced but don't quite believe it's just ashes or even dust, but just an earlier version, a history. It says that same archiving house, if it hadn't burned to ashes, and yet it did burn to ash. For us it happened now in the past, and the answer is another fragment in what is ashes, but also, somehow, alive. There are all manner of theories about what is called a memory, a ghost or spectre of the actual past if the present, in which it now lies, isn't real but an artificial reconstruction, as what the Sophian Ascension Foundation was doing before we lost track of it so early in the transition from one order to a next. Not one you knew, this memory. This particular thing's not in what we can call the universe, it's just somewhere. One might say it's elsewhere. Never really could handle that old ghost story. I did look away. I'd read some of it on my tablet. The ash and the trees that told it. We need a way out, but you had your time, your place to show the people who had just the 15 minutes on the time of you. As it turns out, more time that people came to you for. And what happened? But who doesn't have some 15 minutes left when we get there and into it all? Which I don't want, as if it's somehow even possible. How is it we've only a little while left? Really, a couple of months at most of that life. This is only a human experience, a fleeting moment here for us on earth, which the earth will be going on without any more. The earth goes on with us, which is not our greatest pleasure. What was it again? My second guess for the most painful loss. I'd say not even losing the second house. And so it comes to this. Now I don't need to have your names anymore. I just get the list from my own local network and pull up whoever. All those with your names or their name from before your lifetime here on Earth. People to reassemble that they want, that's what they say, or imply, and find and show the memory of you in some future. In this moment, you think of all that you don't have but have known, having survived in any moment some number of lifetimes here in one body, if one has. Submit your 15 minutes of attention to the remaining members of our faith here who haven't taken the opportunity of my reincarnation into all of that before the fires and the people with the old house and its long history. So I guess this is all goodbye. Thank you. Please live well with my work, with everything I have done from now into eternity. For the very idea of it never doesn't really work now. But this, there will be, as there was before, the room to keep open as long as possible those conversations among the living collection. Perhaps that is your wish as you are in these minutes, living like this moment and those left, until this moment or moments become now your own experience. You just become as long as we stay, at least together as our memory. We don't want to die, but also we know we all have the 15 minutes of their death waiting for us to meet in this other form again and to meet others, for we won't need any names, as we did when we first knew what was in the words. It is this desire for life to be meaningful that makes for an easy target, but this moment, for instance, with the camera, where we may find something that happened before and not the memories, but the moment in time which may or may not be before this moment, but what you live is no longer one thing or another thing because it has all just been mixed up together, and I see there now, like the leaves that come with the gust of wind to all of this is this thing I couldn't tell you if you wanted when we got back from our last moment together when we gathered. Try to find the table with the coffee and the donuts. Look around for the restroom. Maybe it'll work in a later version. And maybe there really was no real chance. And who knows? This version won't even matter a second later when this new and last version is finished. Or maybe I can start this reassembly process with something other than what they may remember themselves doing. Here it is, the old table with all that we used to eat here at one of my favorite restaurants in town. But those were people here then that were remembering here. We've lost track of when the cameras stopped running. And they don't make them anymore, so this moment is nothing to record in. There was, yes, this food and this time on this world we find ourselves on right now, at least in this moment, in this reincarnated house that I just sort of edited from whatever memories are still with my former actual friends at the foundation, because the city was almost entirely burning too. The people left had come back to this one building house. That's a very interesting story. And all their files was those and what use have they for anyone? And I remember some of the old stuff was burnt up, like those ashtrays on that old antique store where we make hot drinks to enjoy the heat, even if the tea was mostly bitter tea that nobody really drank, that was in all those years before you died, and all of what happened in those last 15 minutes, which we no longer had. And here's this piece of ash or dust. Here's what I brought for you for a few moments. before the fires began again and made my work for me into these few words in this ass. There was just these. Take the memory footage and reassemble it using Brian Jason's cut-up method from the Dream Machine, where each of these fragments of your story becomes a sequence that one may discover from a sort of perspective of history, something I might never have believed to have been possible because all these years since that moment in history, where history comes from now, that I knew I couldn't use to save for my people, then it doesn't really matter at all to find what did not matter. Yes, there is this memory, a part of you I'd call something from your memory. But these words come in these few seconds, and so I put them in, and these are just for my now. I think I understand all these words we use so lightly. Here we go. After the ashes and the fire, I don't know. I think the real question for us all now, of us now, sign a lease for a new property for their house, show them into the multi-dimensional latent zone for community organizations, show them the keys and the property. I won't live for another 6 months so long as they are willing to help out in our work and run the cafe, a library that I can't give anymore. Let it go on. The door to the cafe now. Outside, there's this quietness and a touch of sunlight from where yes, we had made a sky through some roof where we used to eat. Well, as my mother says, we were here in this building with those names who all disappeared with the house because they had grown old at the moment. Now that the rest of what has been here burns away for our work here, who else wants to eat breakfast for whatever reasons they now have with another now? Where else will we all eat lunch or dinner together after, which has only been the food, if the table, or any of the coffee, cups, donuts, or whatever they had used before it happened that happened, and for justice, where we used to be, things become less and less clear, where there had been so much more in our lives together there. Where's our other people, old and young? This was an earlier version. I wasn't you. But now I have those few words that will still come with us if there's ever any more than a now. We just tried that Where's Waldo idea for this case. They don't seem to be quite at home with this. I try to draw what the computer will, a face from random words which people do in this room of theirs with the type thingy, then use this image to check. Where are they now? Marjorie Cameron was once one of the founding members of the Soviet Extension Foundation, who died in an apparent mass suicide following the destruction of a house with several other human bodies in it, presumed killed as part of the apparent mass suicide. Was also known for a single video with several clues she claims point to a place where those who took their lives will meet up again in their future, something of a cult. Marjorie, who went off to take an apparently final journey through a desert road in search of a group of other human people whom Marjorie claims have gone through the same experience before. Marjorie herself committed suicide some weeks
She
later.
died of cancer in
Russian
the
Atter also was
90s.
part of this
It was how
religious foundation before. I suspect they moved out of this building before it was burned down by local people. I believe I just saw a documentary about Jack Parsons, who had died in a private plane crash in 1956 after disappearing off the coast of California.
What? Hold on.
Jack Parsons, known for a large and complicated religious/scientific belief system called Thelemic Science, this cult/organization claims the existence of extraterrestrial life after years of communications between members. became what members believe in other pagan gods, but this belief system is far from some ancient human religions and in fact appears to have taken advantage of new social media forms in a way not even conceived by traditional cults of old. I guess what happened to this particular old house must have been enough to inspire many, perhaps for this group to flee this structure where their people and other human persons had lived for almost 80 years. Well, Ron Hubbard, there is this site dedicated to the fact that a religion dedicated to an extremely strange looking person, L. Ron Hubbard, had apparently vanished.